questions I've received over the last couple of weeks was, how do I go about managing teams? What do I find is one of the key strategies I use to be successful in that space? Now, I've always been a big believer in the statement, trust but verify. And this relates to leadership practice in which you're placing a level of trust into your team members to deliver outcomes and actions for you, but it also reminds you that you need to verify with them on regular intervals how they're progressing, whether they're having any challenges, questions, issues, and whether you should be helping them to adjust the path that they are following to ensure that you get the good outcome that you are expecting. Now, in saying that, what I found early in my leadership journey was that I kept verifying with the team whether they were on the right track, as I was not happy about the process that they were using to get to the end result. My trust levels were actually very low. I was getting caught up in the way people were doing their work, as it was not the way that I would do the work, rather than being concerned about making sure the team was getting to the outcome that we were all pushing for on that particular project. Now, what this did was it moved me into the dangerous territory, I believe, for people, especially moving into a management role for the first time, of micromanaging your team. Probably one of the worst examples I can think of my own behaviour in this space was the situation in which I'd been working with my team over about 9 months to develop a major study for a mining client. The team handed me the 400-page report document just before Christmas, and then I actually spent the time from Christmas all the way through to New Year's Day rewriting that entire report because I was not actually happy with the finished product that they had produced. But the truth of the matter was, I'd actually failed as a team leader with that group because I hadn't made sure that they were producing the output I wanted and needed for our client, and therefore hadn't really helped them through that process as the time had gone on. The fact that I'd stepped in and fixed it at the end, yes, the client got a good result that he was happy with, but really it wasn't a very productive and appropriate way to run the project. Now, I'd like to say that from that experience, I've had an epiphany and found some magic formula to get a better team functioning process. But looking back over the last 15 years, I can see that it's been a more gradual change and development in my leadership style that has actually assisted in me getting better results. So through that time, I've received and developed a better recognition of a couple of things. Firstly, that every person is an individual and therefore needs to actually be managed in an individual way. I feel that I can now recognise team member strengths relatively quickly, and also what I need to do to manage them and provide them the right sort of instruction so that it reduces the feedback loops and hopefully the questions they have to progress the work further and faster. Secondly, it's a recognition that people deal with ambiguity and uncertainty in all sorts of different ways. Some people can deal with it really well, others really struggle with any sort of form of uncertainty. And therefore, the type of instruction you give needs to be tailored, recognising this. The ability of your team members to deal with this ambiguity is important to understand because it helps to moderate the amount of time you need to check in and verify with them how they're progressing and whether they're okay and how things are moving. Thirdly, the obvious statement is that usually gets sprouted that you should treat people how you would like to be treated. And I certainly agree with that statement from the perspective of treating people with trust and respect. But it also comes back to that first point I made, that everyone is actually an individual. So you've also got to recognise they may not respond in the same way that you would respond under the same treatment. So if you're an individual that likes getting clear, concise instruction, and that's how you operate, that may not be the case for one of your team members. And finally, it's a recognition that life matters. And by this, the work environment that you're in is not necessarily the same driver for others as it may be for you. And sometimes the external world, family, friends, personal, children, sport, actually will impact on people's performance at work. And you need to be empathetic with your team at those times and recognise that nobody comes to work to fail, but they just might be having some struggles at that particular moment in time. So as a team leader, I believe it's your job to find the best ways to inspire, motivate, guide, support your team to be successful at the task in hand. So this starts with listening and understanding who your team members are as people and recognising that they will need different ways of managing them to allow them to become the best versions of themselves. So maybe a better way to look at trust and verify is that you as the leader have to gain your team's trust in your leadership style and verify with them that you are helping them to achieve their best. That's all from me. This has been Sharing the Light, and until next time.